Hi, I'm KS Garner, and you're listening to the Solo Nerdbird podcast. Today, I'll be speaking with the collaborators from Ichigo Comics, Nana Hoshiko and Kazuto, here to promote their new manga, deadCON. Welcome, Nana. Welcome, Kazuto.
Thank
What's
you.
what's up? Thanks for the welcome. Got
Well, outside
butterflies.
my introduction, who are you all as individuals, and how did you all contribute to deadCON as collaborators?
Kazi first.
Oh, me? well, I'm the creator of the manga. Kind of created the whole idea. Wrote scripts. Basically, that's my that's my place with the project. From my little mind right up here. But I think looking back, Nana here played a big role as well in creating the project. Isn't that right, Nana?
Well, I am Nana Hoshiko. I am the founder of Ichigo Studios, which is my revamp of my prior studio, Jupiter Ripple Comics. Kaz and I have been working together now for about 4 years. We've collaborated on many comics, deadCON being our most recent. We've collaborated on a lot of comics and starring Swevin. We've done so many scripts, so many everything, behind the scenes. And deadCON was our most recent published work. Um, I kind of assisted Kaz and Takeru throughout their journey as collaborating, as I've collaborated with artists in the past. And nowadays, even though my collaborations with artists are over, as I'm taking over illustration of my own comics now for the studio, it was really nice to see this collaboration of my two studio members. Takeru came on board. Uh, he started off as our beta reader back in the day when we were writing Swevin. So we kind of just grew a little bit of a friendship. And one day, Kaz said, "Oh, I have this idea for a comic." It's like if he was in front of me, he'd be waving a script or something. But I was like, "Oh well, what the heck, Takeru, he's not doing anything these days, so why don't we all link up and start together?" And then before you knew it, when we were changing, brands from Jupiter Ripple Studios to Ichigo Studios, Takeru just kind of jumped on with us, and here we are. We're a 3-man team once again. So that's kind of how that started.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Okay, so what is deadCON actually about?
So deadcon is it's actually nothing serious if I'm honest here. Deadcon's basically a love letter to exploitation films, grindhouse film, anime culture in general, and it's basically just about these four cosplaying friends going to a big anime convention in Florida, and all hell breaks loose. Zombies are everywhere, and just about four average, well, sort of average people just becoming the heroes and saving the world one bullet at a time. Killing zombies, having a blast.
So basically a nerd's party.
I don't know about that. I would just say like any like anime fans like dream come true in a way.
Yeah, it's a great. It has a lot of comedy. It has some funny characters. Like he says, it's not really too much serious, but like for me, as a third party, and when I read the comic, because I didn't like I read the script, but like I really invest in the comic when I'm seeing it all put together as like a final product. That's like where my beta reading, I guess you would say, would come in. And I look at these characters and I'm like, these like just the way like Takeru like illustrated them and the way like Kaz wrote for them, like I can't emphasize just their collaboration together was just so fantastic. Like it really, they work so great together. And these characters, like I just love them. I just think they're so great. They're silly.
It was fun. It was fun writing them and working with Takeru, just creating the characters for him, and he had a blast creating the villain, and it just talking about ideas for these characters. It just worked. So just bringing that non-serious aspect to deadCON with just working with Takeru, it was just so easy, and it was just so fun.
Yeah, we keep saying that.
Well, Kazuto, as the creator and writer of deadCON, can you elaborate just a little bit more on the creative process on this manga? I guess just from a thought in your head to flushing it out as a complete work to now promoting it. And I guess Nana, you can jump in. I guess watching the progression of the collaboration between Kazuto and Takara.
Sure, yeah. Cause if you don't mind, I could start this off just a little bit.
Oh yeah, you're free.
So
You're free to do so. I borrowed from you anyway.
so basically, you know, I just want to say real quick that especially when you're in collaboration, coming up with a process is so crucial that it all flows. And throughout the years, Takeru and I have tried many methods, and I think now we have finally come up with what we like to call at the studio a production plan, where we sit back about, you know, I would say at the minimum, well, okay, let me rephrase. For Kazuto, his minimum 2 weeks, me 3 months. I'm a bit way more of a planner. Love you, Kaz. I'm just a little bit more of a planner. But either way, before we have these ideas as a studio, if we do intend on having each other, just overall, we always kind of are helping each other out, regardless if one's doing one role or one's doing this, whatever. But what we like to do is we come up with a production plan and we sit and we rough draft that and we put a timeline. What we're going to start with. We always start with the script. And that we give for Kazuto 1 week, for Nana a month, let's say, where we just tweak the script till we feel satisfied with it. That's mostly a me and Kaz route. The illustrator usually does not get involved with our scripts too much. It just depends. Like most of the time, if they get involved in the script, you know, that's later on. That's as they're illustrating it, because we want to have that solid script. We want to leave a little bit of wiggle room in for some creative changes. When we sit down, we have what I like to call second step, a round table, where we sit, we read the script, we have a meeting, we discuss the next step, which then that would be illustration. Usually we set our scripts up in 2 different ways. At least I do. Kazuto, sometimes it just depends. But I will set up what I like to call like a novelist version. It's more of a way as me as doing the writing part can immerse in the creativity. I just feel better when I'm writing it as a novel and seeing it in my head play out. And then I'll sort of go in and I'll put in the specifics for the illustrator. For example, page 1, panel 1, panel 2, more of a comic like format. Kaz, sometimes, you know, I've seen some of his work and he'll just go in with both. Sometimes, you know, we're just meshing it all together, and that's sort of the process. And we work with the artist, and they have their own creative process as well, which we always like to respect, because, you know, doing art is, especially drawing a comic, is a lot of work. So we like to have them have as much control over it, like their time, that being like the time management and stuff like that, because manga's, like I said, a big game, and it can exhaust you rather quickly.
Yeah, deadCON's process kind of differed in a little bit because it was so easy for me to just sit down and write the script. I I worked on it for, I don't know, maybe only a couple of days, and then
Yeah.
the final day was just this huge splurge of writing, and it was like, well, 30 over 30 pages by the end of it.
I'm sorry, I had
And
to typo. Minimum 10 days, baby.
yeah, and it would only just take me a couple hours. Or the next chapter was like over 70 pages, and I completed it within a single day. And and it would just go from there to hand off to the artist, to Takeru, and we would do, conceptual art first, and doing a rough draft of the whole thing before we would ultimately commit to the final product. Any changes to dialogue that need to be changed, we do that within the drafting phase, of the manga itself. But it's a straightforward process, and it's even smoother when the crew is small. So for us, it's like our comfort zone. So it was especially comfortable with deadCON, where it was simple just like that, and no complaints from anybody. It was just smooth, effective. We had like no interference from anybody else. It was just smooth, simple, and like the synergy between Takeru and I and Nana is just contributes to that, to make sure that the process stays simple.
And a lot of that, a lot of why this went so smoothly, and I will say, in my 4 years of doing comics now, this was probably the smoothest comic production I've ever had. I couldn't tell you how much of a relief that was. And and like I look back and I reminisce, and even though it wasn't even that long ago, it was so fun. It was so fun. And
Back in the old days.
yeah, right. But mainly because, it just, I can't, it was just the best, like the best time. And I owe it to like these guys, because I think a big part of this, because we all knew what we wanted to kind of finish that one off.
Yeah.
The process sounds really interesting. No one's ever really explained it to me, like pretty much like how you just did, Nana, of the entire what it takes to create something like that. And then Kazuto was like, it was simple, I guess. It's like he's saying it was simple, and you're laying out all these details about everything. I'm like, which one is it? But
Sorry.
yeah, but I've never heard anyone just kind of like break it down, um like pretty much everything that it takes to make a comic or a manga, I should say, in this instance. And then how smooth and I guess easy it was, since you all, I guess, know each other, and like you said, it you all knew what you wanted. That's probably why it went so smooth compared to other experiences with collaborators.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
and also it kind of comes down to understanding what you're creating. One of the reasons why some projects just fail, or they don't land as solid as they should, is not really having that kind of synergy where you kind of understand what you're going for, like understand the material before you. Because Takeru and I, we both know like actual grindhouse, low budget film, adult, dirty, violent, very, very, very underground. And we both have seen movies like Planet Terror, Machete. We both watch Quentin Tarantino. We both know the style. We both know what makes grindhouse film. And we both look at the scripts, and we kind of we know what it is, so we translate that as best as we can to a different medium, which is the pages of manga. But we both keep we both understand and keep what makes a grindhouse. So it works out really well when everybody involved, even Nana, understand what it is we're doing, what it takes to accomplish that, and know how it works. So it just kind of melds together and just makes the process so much smoother, because you don't have to explain it any more in depth, to
Uh-huh.
somebody else than to just mention it. Like I don't have to explain to Takeru like what grindhouse is, or what some of the thematics are of a grindhouse, because he already knows. He already understands. And I even mentioned some of the things I use for inspiration, and he's like, "Oh, I know that." So it helps that he not only knows, but he has sort of the same appreciation I do for it. So it just kind of makes the whole process just so much smoother and so much easier, because now you're just devoting so much energy to the actual production rather than you just teaching them about it and then going into production and hoping they like, I hope that kind of translated well into explaining it.
Well, were there other prospect illustrators before Takeru came along? Because I know, like, non, like you said, he was pretty much the beta reader in the beginning, and then you guys brought him on as the illustrator. But were there other people that you all were looking at before him? And like, how was that experience searching for other collaborators to work on this project before you finally brought in Takeru?
Well, it was rough because of budget, right? Because I had a really strict budget, like very strict. And a lot of artists nowadays, their budgets are high up per manuscripts. And I was like, I looked at one person that Nana knew, and he does amazing art. And then I was like, forget it. This dude's gonna drain out my wallet. And then Nana was mentioned Takeru. And I was like, maybe we should talk to him. So like the process of seeking out another artist was relatively short-lived, because thankfully this time we knew Nana knew Takeru, and she suggested, hey, why don't I ask him? And luckily luckily we talked to him, and he was more than happy to jump on. But just for those brief moments, it was stressful, because
Yeah.
it was hard to find somebody that would take
I
this.
don't really know, cause maybe from my third, as the third party watching it come together, like I feel like for me it was real easy, like just so it was just like meant to be, like
Yeah,
if
well,
we're
what I
like
meant what I meant was before Takeru was like an
oh
idea.
yeah, no, oh yeah, no, for sure, like
It was difficult before Takeru was like a
yeah,
consideration.
yeah, we so I at the time, we had when we, rebranded our studio, because that was kind of the big shift for us. Back when we were under our old studio, we put together our comic Swevin, and which is way more my forte. That's way more girly and way more like way different than deadCON, and something that I've always wanted was to open a studio with variety, like not just one genre, like not just my name, but together we can be something. Like that's just kind of how I saw it. And I just knew when I met Takeru that he had the same drive as me, that no matter what we were going to do, we were going to be artists and cause the same. So I don't know, like I just feel like if there were like a red string of fate leading me to my comic creator friends, it would be these two. Like, and it was just so perfect from my perspective. And having him on as a beta reader, like he was shared just as much passion for what I was just creating as what he was too.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So, because I've definitely heard horror stories of people who've had to like pay for a collaborator or illustrator, and then they ghost them, or they had to start all over again, but you still have to pay them because people put out work, so to pay them for it. So they had to start all over again. So good thing that you both knew Takeru and you were familiar with his work, and it fit in the budget. Goodness, I couldn't imagine having a strict budget and then having to start all over again because you paid somebody already. That would suck.
Well,
It was the
the reason we one moment, sorry.
there's her dogs.
Yeah, my dogs are barking too. I was able to cut it out.
Yeah, I'm waiting for mine to bark now. But it's just with that strict budget, it was a nightmare before we met Takeru, because the budget was extremely small. I am talking about, like, I wouldn't go any higher than $100. I wouldn't. I
Mhm.
would not. And I knew some people who were under that budget, but it's like they don't meet the criteria that's needed for a script, for the quality of the script. And so I was just nearly about to like put my head into the wall because of how stressful it is, because especially if you have an extremely low budget.
Yeah.
So before Takeru, it was like, I have this idea. It's really good. I can't find anybody, for crying out loud, who would do it for the budget that that I have. And like when I met Takeru, it was like, oh, the biggest stroke of luck.
I
And
apologize. I'm so sorry.
no, it's
Oh
okay.
no, it's fine.
Welcome back.
Kaz, I was going to say too before my dogs went berserk. They're so loud, and they think like they're like big dogs, so their bark like echoes and. Okay. But another thing I thought of, back when we first started, when you mentioned that we have had instances where we had to start all over several times. Like I said, we've rebranded our studio, and a big part of me saying the process that I did earlier was because, as I mentioned, Kaz and I have went through our trial and error of comic production within itself. And I feel like if you're having groups come together to collaborate, one of the biggest things is setting in place what you want and making sure that's exactly how it's going to go. Yeah, you might have some trial and error along the way, but that's why you fit that wiggle room in your production. I always say a 3-month comic production is the best production. Your stuff will get out there, but you just got to be patient. Number one, make sure you know what you're going into, what you want to do. Number two, knowing the people that you're working with and establishing that bond beforehand. And I feel like that by the time we met Takeru, we've already known what we wanted to avoid. Seeking him out was my top priority as soon as I met him, because I said he shares that artistic drive that I do. Like, he will not stop at nothing. Like, this guy sent us a picture of his hands the one day, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, because see, where I come in, I'm the digital artist of the group. Takeru is both. He is traditional and digital, and he's kind of working his way into digital right now, from what I understand. I do not know that for sure, but like his hands were calloused. Like, he was drawing easily 10 hours. And guys, I'm not saying by any means, please don't hurt yourself to draw manga, but put in that drive and put in that, just put that in, and it will come no matter how long it takes.
Wow. For him to be able to do both like that, I think, I guess he was going so hard at it is because he had just as much passion about it as you two did, and that's that's probably why he meshed so well with you all, because he got it, and he was familiar with your work as well, so he could probably see it and just kind of had to get it down on paper. That's what it sounds like to me with Takeru. So I just wanted to reverse back into the process really fast. So how difficult was world building in this case? Like, how did you all manage to create a world that is totally your own and integrate your influences into it, but maintain that deadCON is yours in your world and not someone else's?
It was easy. It was it was extremely easy. The basis I formed for deadCON's world building was that it was our real world, like our not with the exact same, series and animes out there, whatever, but just this world that we live in. It's not like filled with magic or monsters or whatever, and it's just our world. And it was quite simple to use that as just the setting of deadCON, because it kind of helps connect the audience better with this world. And the whole theme of the zombie apocalypse and anime convention, it's a little bit it might sound out there, but like the anime convention setting and like just the focus on on paying tribute to to anime and anime pop culture and stuff, people can relate to that because it's what already exists in this real world, you know. And while there's a lot of elements that are out there, it's just part of the show. It's just part of the ride. And it's just that twists on the world that we live in, you know, this world that you and I and everybody else, you know, we go to work, we we get coffees, we go to sleep extremely late sometimes, you know, just to sit back and relax. And it's the world that we live in. And so using that as the crux instead of a, you know, a an out there version of our world was kind of like an essential part of deadCON to get that kind of connectivity going, so that, you know, it could sort of act as a fantasy for like anime fans, manga fans, all kinds of people to go like, you know, put themselves into the shoes of the characters, even if they're completely different from them, and go like, this I want, you know, this is my fantasy, being a hero in a story like this, you know. And that's why the characters are just normal cosplayers in a way, you know, so that people can connect and, you know, say to themselves like, I love this character, you know, because I can relate to cosplay. We love cosplay, we love anime, we love manga. Or, you know, sometimes I wish I was a hero in in an extreme, you know, circumstance like this. And it kind of takes the heart of that around the world building, because it's so much relatable to us, at least at least at what it seems. I don't want to go into spoilers, but you know, that's how easy the world building was, because we didn't have to build everything completely from the ground up. We just literally just took our real world and just applied the outrageous, over the top storyline uh, into the world. So it was really easy, at least from my perspective.
Oh yeah, like, and I feel like because of all their inspiration. Now I did not contribute on the creative of this at all. This was all Takeru and Kaz. I more or less just assist on their production and kind of helping them get to where they wanted to go. You know, I and KR, you know, where that's where you will see deadCON. You know, we had to connect with them. So I took care of that for them, so that they could focus on what they wanted to do, and how they wanted this comic to come to life. So, and I feel like because they've had all this inspiration, it really was just it's so unique. Like, we have looked through Ian KR's catalog, and we don't see anything similar to this right now.
I can't I can't
Inspire, because it's so different. I mean it's so great. Like, total complete anime fans go to a convention only for it to bust out in zombies and like all this crazy stuff, just this random crazy stuff. Like, and I feel like because it had that light-hearted silly stuff going on, and of course the tribute to Grindhouse, which really shows through it all the way. It really just makes it just such a unique little superhero comic. Like,
I wouldn't say superhero. I would
whatever, superhero. Like,
I would,
again, it's its own thing. If I could,
yeah.
for me, if I could describe it, it would be like some like underground. This ain't appropriate for your newspaper comic.
This is not. And you know, the closest thing, there was a question in like the Viz media like submission application, and they asked, what's the closest thing that you could compare your manga to out there? I put High School of the Dead, but even that was kind of like, it's still not the same. You know, this whole story it does not take itself seriously at all. And it's just cheesy, it's just super violent, gory, it's out there. It's literally a grindhouse film slapped into the pages of manga. It literally is, you know. And nothing like that is out there. Maybe Kodansha's Coliseum, but even that's in a different territory. And this is just like full blown to the roots grindhouse. And no manga has taken that step in bringing a film experience to a manga experience. Even I even wrote in like just little bits of just like film errors, continuity errors, seeing like boom microphones or cameras in panels, like as though they are low budget film mistakes. And not really many mangas will break that kind of ground to deliver that kind of experience. So
I just gotta say, I love the spelling errors done on purpose. That oh my gosh,
I
that
had
makes
to
me laugh.
I had to force myself to make mistakes. That's how fun
Because a
this
lot of the
was.
characters, they're breaking the fourth wall on purpose. Like we're gonna have a lot of that if like a
Well,
lot of that.
well, breaking fourth walls, but for the most part, I think correctly, there's fourth wall. There would be fourth wall breaks, but like it would just be like self-aware, like just how over the top things get, or how messed up things get, or just how like insane some of these set pieces would be, or just overall this whole situation, the whole story situation. And to be self-aware, in grindhouse movie fashion, and just like completely in on its own joke, it is awesome. And, and purposely writing errors and continuity errors, believe it or not, it doesn't feel bad at all. It feels great.
Yeah, I noticed some of it from what Nana sent me. I was like, did they do this on purpose? There's no way that they could have misspelled this or do this and then put it out there for people to read and thought it was okay. So yeah, it makes sense that you say that now, Kazuto. Um so what advice would you offer to other manga writers or anyone who wants to start their own studio, Nana? Like that you wish someone would have told you when you first started?
I I don't know, if you ask me at a manga writing standpoint. Um, I wish somebody could have told me that it would be this much fun to 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 just do whatever I wanted, And one of the things I really do appreciate experiencing, among many other things, with Nana, as a manga writer, uh, just starting out as an editor, is just being able to have this much control over your creativity, and to not be afraid of putting anything you want out there, and just experiencing that kind of freedom. I I never thought I would be able to experience. And for the most part, just all of the experiences I've had, all the struggles, but all the successes, I'm thankful for experiencing the way that I did. And if somebody told me about this or that, I somewhat probably would be discouraged a little bit more. So I'm just kind of thankful that all I did was meet this wonderful person who's one of my best friends, and and just experience this ride one thing at a time. And I'm glad nobody told me anything scary about it. And so, like, if you ask me for actual, advice, you know, for a manga writer, do not be afraid to put out whatever you want to. Now, of course, don't go after your readers, for crying out loud, because that's no bueno. But put your full creative vision out there and do not hold anything back, because if you do, either you miss an opportunity, or it's not really the work that you want to put out, And just like a lot of people can see that, especially these days in the industry, consuming, American comics. And it's a lot of just kind of reserved creativity that a lot of people like manga, or gravitate more to manga now, because of the limitless ability for writers to just put out their full vision and just to be along for the ride. And that's why I love it so much. And to be honest, it feels so good to be a part of that. Just this this place, this industry that allows for anybody to learn, pick up a pen or go to a computer and put out their full creative vision. So I'm sort of kind of glad nobody told me about like the negatives and stuff like that, because to be honest, it's made me a better editor, it's made me a better writer, it's made me a better creator. And for the most part, even with all the downs and stuff that come with this path, because there are struggles, but it's just like at the end of the day, you learn from them, and you feel as though you're better from just learning from it. So that's me.
And I agree so much with what Kaz said. The end goal is to immerse yourself in your art. And I started doing this in a very stressful time in my life. When I started deciding to write comics, I was a new mom and I lived in a new state, and I didn't know anyone, and I spent a lot of time by myself, and I had so many like racing thoughts, and I just could not like put an end to them. And I just like one day was just bored, and I reread and rewatched Pokemon Adventures, and then I and then I watched Pokemon, and I was like, oh my gosh, like wouldn't it be cool if like we can have like an adult Pokemon? And then before I knew it, I was like writing like this detailed story about Pokemon, and then it turned into just me doing this like now. And I would say the best advice I could give to anyone who wants to be a writer, an illustrator, or have their own studio is exactly what Kaz said, that you can have all three of those let's say credentials on your resume if all you do is just love what you do, because that stuff will come. The biggest thing is you gotta, especially in collaborations, you gotta make sure that you're all on the same page. I mean, there's so many, so much advice I could give, really. Like that's the biggest one, is just loving your art and seeing it through. I started off as a writer. I had no intentions to draw. I really did not have that much drawing ability until I was drawing for my own books. Then I realized, after going through artist and starting over and taking that loss and dealing with that, I got tired of it. So I took over, and I got Clip Studio Paint one day because I had to like review master files or whatever. And then I'm like, this program is like really cool. Like I want to learn this. And it's just crazy how that one little thing that I didn't think was going to lead somewhere led to this big thing in the end. And it could happen like that for you too. You just have to just do what Kaz says. Just love what you're doing and don't stop, and don't let anyone take it away from you either. If you lose an artist, learn how to draw. If you are an artist and you're intimidated by the fact of writing, start taking workshops. If you want to do this, you can make it happen, but you got to stop putting time. Like a lot of mistakes creators make is they put time limits all the time. Now, I'm not saying sit back, lay back, and don't have an urgency, but what I'm saying is be okay if things take time. Be okay with starting over. Be okay with taking that loss, because it might happen. But if you love your art, like Kaz says, you won't have any problems. And that's pretty much the best advice I could give.
And that's probably the best advice that anyone, I think even I couldn't articulate that better than you, Nana. That was great. But my last question for the two of you is, what is your idea of success? Yeah, I asked these questions, well, I should say this question in particular, to every creator that I come in contact with, that, if you're not getting regular paychecks from a full-time job or making consistent revenue from your art, you're considered a failure, or you'll consider yourself a failure. Many of us will put our dreams and projects on the back burner or give them up altogether because this career can be highly intimidating and competitive. So what is either of your idea of quote unquote success?
Well, to be honest, there's a lot of like different like kinds of success out there. But for me, real success comes from, or what it would be for me is if my full vision, our full vision is out there. If it's done in full, if it's what I wanted it to be, if it's what I imagined it looking like, that's true success. Because I set out to make this vision not only mine, but also Takeru's and Nana's, is something that we all envision of something that could be more than just out there. And it can be unique. It could be like one of its kind. If it fulfills that, no matter if it's a critical success or not, or whether it's a financial success or not, to be honest, I expect a lot of people out there with major critics of manga to not like it. I expect that. And as long as it's true self, it's true identity, as long as it fulfills what I wanted it to do, that's true success. Because one of the things that I always worry about as a creator is, what if it's not? What if it's not the vision that I wanted to put out there? Like, what if it's, just like somebody else's? Or what if it's like, it's not, done to what I envisioned it, And that's always one of my big worries. And believe it or not, I do worry, about like critical reception, but at the same time, it's like, they can they can meander right off, at the end of the day. But what really sets me, on this path, and especially my feeling of success, is it really what I envisioned it to be? Because if it is, then I succeeded. I would feel like the most successful person in the world. When the prologue came out, it was what I wanted it to be, and I felt so accomplished. And at the end of the day, that's all I'm worried about. I will feel successful if my vision is realized. So I think for a lot of people, of course, there's different kinds of success and you want that. But the true success lies in, is your true vision actually up there? Is it 100% intact? Is it unrelenting in your creative vision? Is it completely and totally yours to own? Because if it is, you have truly succeeded. But if it isn't, if you reserve ideas or you were afraid about some aspects, then to me, that's not real success. To me, that's, you fell short. And true success comes in not wavering in your creative goals ever. And as long as that's met, that's real success. For all I care, deadCON, after the entire series is done, somebody could go out there and say, this is one of the top 10 worst manga series about zombies. And I'll be like, okay, that's fine. My vision is out there, and I wanted it to be this way. I wanted it to be adult. I wanted it to be hyper violent and full of just unrelenting swearing for comedic effects. I never wanted to take it seriously. And if that was my goal, and a lot of you people, say that I accomplished it, and if I see that it did, that's all I'm happy about. Just as long as the vision is intact, that's real success to me.
Mm-hmm.
I would say for me, I have many things that I want to succeed at, but the main goal, the intimate reason, the the everything for me, what one day I could, if this happens for me, it hasn't happened for me yet. If it does happen for me at that moment, I can close my books one day and be okay with, let's call it, retiring. and that is that I don't need millions of dollars. I don't want millions of dollars, really. I don't need you guys to fangirl over me. I don't want you guys to do that. I don't want that. I mean, that's nice, thank you. But like in the end, I don't want that. And thirdly, I don't want the attention. I want my work to be the attention, and I want, no matter how big or how small my reading base is, to understand and fully immerse in what I am telling you. I want you to hear, and I got this from a novelist that actually helped me kind of put together my book um, at the time when I was in that process. And she says, "You as the writer, what is the truth that you're trying to scream from the rooftops? What is this thing that is just the elephant in the room that you're trying to tell everyone? I want you to see that, and I want you to understand that, because that is what I wanted out of this. I have I have so many stories to tell and so many different characters, and I apply so much of things that I've seen and things that I've witnessed or things that I've endured as a person that I'm putting in my books that are intimate for me. Now, of course, that's a writing style. That doesn't have to be your writing style, but no matter what, if you're writing a book, there's a truth in there somewhere. For Kaz and deadCON, it's to be that free writer and to write about what he wanted to write, and he accomplished that. That's why he feels satisfied and like when he said he released this prologue, and that's why he feels he succeeded in the prologue, because he was able to put that truth out there. And that also applies into writing and art and studio advice. You need to have a truth for why you're doing this. If you're doing this for money, stop. Just go find something else to do, because it is competitive. And again, you might fail, you might not. Hey, who am I? But I know my struggles doing this and the things that I've had to learn. And that success story that I just talked about is all I have ever wanted. So that's my intimate reason for success. Of course, putting all this work in, us artists, when we receive support, it really feels good, because it gives us, for some artists, that could be the reason that they're going for financial support or whatever it may be. For me, it's more, I want you to see and understand what I'm saying. And I feel like for me, as a writer, as an illustrator, as a studio, whatever, that's all I've ever wanted. And because of that want and that drive to do it, I've met and done some cool stuff.
Well, is there anything else that either of you want to touch on about deadCON as a whole that I may have missed?
What do you think, Nana?
I'm sorry,
what do you
can
think?
you repeat that?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was wondering, is there anything else about deadCON that either of you want to touch on about as a whole that I may have missed? Like, I believe it's supposed to be up on how do you pronounce it? INKR, right? Up
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
Is it going to be like a weekly thing that an issue? I mean, a couple of pages are going to come out on a certain day of the week, or is it going to be a monthly thing? Like, how is it going to come out? I'm not familiar with INKR.
I
Well,
think. I'm sorry.
INKR allows us to do it a variety of different ways, but for deadCON specifically, we have this thing of it's coming out when it's ready, because my thing is that we set a due date for ourselves, but if we put out a release date and we don't meet it, it's going to disappoint a lot of people, and it's also going to disappoint INKR. So it's kind of like, let's set a date for ourselves. If things go wrong, here's our second date, but it's coming out when it's ready, because we don't really want to release a half-baked like chapter and it like completely bombs and it's just like it's unfinished, or there's something in there that we wanted to change, or things like that. And we just feel like whenever it's ready, while it's sort of kind of not good if it takes too long, like 3 months, for the most part, we always try to release it without making people wait for too long. So like this next chapter 1, it's coming out. How long would you say, Nana? Like maybe a month after the first one came out or more?
I know.
Just to get it to be ready?
I know, like the three of us have definitely discussed like a bi-monthly. As as we said, we are a studio, so we do have other titles that we are working on amongst deadCON. We just brought on Pandemic Story, which is Takeru's his comic that he wrote and illustrated himself, that he just decided to put here on the studio. So we have, you know, other titles that we're releasing too, and you know, there's tons of content to go around. And deadCON in specific, I do believe we said bi-monthly, like if we can, like, you know, when we're, you know, when we're in that focus for sure. I could have
Yeah.
sworn we said bi-monthly, like if you
I
could
think
expect it. Yeah.
I
But
think we did, but it was just
yeah.
kind of like with all these things going on, you know, especially with
Production was so
Zoom and all
fun.
this
We
as
didn't
well.
even think of all the later of all the stuff.
Yeah, so
There.
it was just all of it is just like, you know what? we'll we'll get to it when we'll get it out there when it's ready. You know, don't
Yeah.
want to rush you because you're working on your own thing and you're working on deadCON. I'm not gonna rush you. So whenever it's ready, we'll get it out there. No,
And
of course,
something that you
advertising
guys
first.
can start looking forward to is if you guys, like, if anyone listening ends up taking an interest in our studio, you know, thank you. um but like later on, you know, you can expect, like, if you grow to like characters, something that we always like to do at the studio is sort of write these stupid .5 chapters where just all the characters from all the Ichigo studio comics just come together and they're just hanging out, and you know, they're just chilling together, and it's in different art styles, and like we have plans for like these little things, like, so if you like one of our comics and you miss the other one, well, hey, you might see a character in a .5 chapter like in a couple of months or something. I always thought that was real cool how we did that.
And what else do you want to touch on? Like, what else do you want to actually touch on? Because I'm trying to think.
I mean, and
The
you know,
swearing?
sorry,
The swearing?
swearing, all the
The
swearing,
swearing?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a lot.
like I said, Kaz, his forte is that. My forte is the more shoujo side of things, you know, talking about more, Kaz, word this for me. I suck.
I don't want to
I
word it.
don't
I'm
really know what
scared.
my forte is. I
Yeah,
really
I
just
know.
kind of
I'm just
think
scared. I'm just scared.
I'm a symbolism type writer. Like
Oh yeah.
I'm a symbolism kind of writer. I'm always like hiding stuff and all that.
Yeah,
So like
and
with Grindhouse, I didn't even know what Grindhouse was until they started this comic.
I
and
think
this
Takeru is trying to enter into the chat now.
oh, he's here.
Oh,
Sir, you are
Yeah.
late.
well, I might switch places with him because
Yeah, you may have to. I just tried to. There he is.
There he is. Yeah, fashionably late. That's right. I always like to give
Takeru, can
a
you
hard
hear
time.
us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. I'm so
More?
sorry. It's just
No,
that I
it's
have a
okay,
really
Takeru. It
bad
was
case
like
of vertigo.
I'm so happy though that you were able to join us though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been really fun. I can't wait to see it all come together, and I appreciate so much coming here on and talking about my studio with Takeru and Kaz, and we have so much fun and we really put so much effort into our comics. So please make sure to check them out. And thanks so much for having us. I appreciate it.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you for joining me. I wanted to kind of, since Takeru is here, do you mind answering a few of these questions since you're here, Takeru, before I let you go, Nana?
Yeah, no problem. Thank you guys so much.
All right, Takeru. I guess well, okay, so I go back up to the top. So can you, I guess, tell our listeners here who you are as an individual and how you contribute to deadCON as one of the collaborators?
So, obviously, my name is Takeru Arino. I am actually an indie manga artist. Prior to JadCon, I actually wrote another story called Pandemic Story. It's also actually on INKR. Unlike DeadCon as well, Pandemic Story is actually more of a slice of life drama. For DeadCon, I was the artist of DeadCon. I did all of the art for DeadCon entirely, from rough drafts all the way to the final finishing pages.
Okay, and Can you, I guess, elaborate a little bit on the creative process, as maybe as your part, or how you all came together, as far as the collaborative effort to like flush out Kazuto's idea into into this manga that's now pretty much almost ready to be promoted on INKR.
Well, deadCON originally was the birth idea of Kaz. It's literally his baby. I'm just the guy who actually kind of also adopted it, I guess, in the same sense. Well, because originally I was focusing on pandemic, and then suddenly out of nowhere, Kaz like shot me a message in Instagram asking if he would like me to draw deadCON, and then I told him that I only draw stories that interest me. Next thing I knew, I was actually doing the rough drafts for deadCON, as well as the character cuts, because deadCON is a really beautiful thing. So usually what I did first is I would do a rough draft first, because I would like to show it first to Kazuto and to Nana, so that if there needs to be any revisions, anything that needs to be fixed up for the final process, they would actually let me know. That's the same thing I did with the character concepts, and then that's when I started to draw it. When I got the heads up, that's when I started to actually draw the final manuscript pages. You know, the usual pen and paper technique, and then I just scan it and then just edit everything on the computer. But moving forward, everything will be done digitally.
Yeah, Nana had told us about how you kind of do both digital and hand drawing, and then I guess you sent her a photo of your hands that was like really callous, I guess. So, what was it about this project, about deadCON and working with Kazuto and Nana, that really drew you in, that made you really want to go, like, really go in and like pretty much finish as much as you can or draw as much as you can in a small amount of time? That what was it about it that made you so passionate about it?
deadCON is a different kind of story. It's a kind of story that I've never actually read before in terms of manga. When we talk about action or horror, it just focuses on something that is the usual trope. deadCON, on the other hand, is a different kind of thing. It's a grindhouse manga, and I've never seen grindhouse actually portrayed in manga. You know, like with all the continuity errors, the panels where you would actually see that there was actually a cameraman and a boom mic somewhere. You know, and like the usual mistakes that they would clear up on normal movies, which was actually very actually fun to try and reiterate into the actual manga, because imagine you're actually reading a manga but then suddenly you're actually seeing a camera out of nowhere. They're like filming the people, but then again it's playing out as just like a normal zombie apocalypse story. You know, the way that he wrote it, it's obvious that he has a very clear idea of how grindhouse is. He really loves the grindhouse genre. So when I transcribed it, or when it played out in my head, it was just like, it was as if I was actually watching a grindhouse film. You know, it was beautiful.
So, how has this project working on deadCON, how has the collaborative effort differ on this project than it has with other projects that you've worked on, like to the point where you only work on stuff that you're actually interested in?
Oh, that's a good question. I did have a circle back then, back in 2015. We were called, well, we were like a collaborative team. It's the same thing. I was the artist, he was the writer. But he, unlike Kazuto and Nana, he was the most, I don't know what's the right term to say it. He was like the worst that I've ever experienced. And he was like my first, okay? Because he gave me a script and I was like, okay, this is actually interesting. A romance comedy, it is interesting. But then he demanded that I have to copy an art style, have to do multiple changes, even if I'm doing the final pages already. You know, he had me do all of the work, And at that time, I wasn't even really good with Photoshop yet, so I had to do the basic stuff. I had to prepare for printing. You know that feeling that I am the one who did majority of the work, and he still wants me to do majority of the work. It's just really, it's really hard. And the the fact that if ever we're gonna be selling an issue, he still gets like around like 70% because he said that there was originally his story. I'm like, yeah, this isn't gonna work. Unlike with Kaz, for the case of Kaz and Nana, when we say fairness, we say fairness. You know, I give him a time schedule. He gives me the script on a timely manner. He gives me a time schedule. I give him the finished project in a timely manner. You know, if ever that we're gonna be having any issues with regards um to deadlines or whatnot, we I have to notify them at least a week or two in advance, just so that we'll be able to find a way to sort of adjust it. You know, this is actually another thing that I actually liked about Nana and Cards. Originally, it was supposed to be released December 20th, but then
24th.
again, 24th. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
24th. But then
We,
no, the original that we planned was December 20th, right? But then we had to move it to
yeah.
the 24th.
Hmm.
And that's actually something that was on me. That was literally on because work was being such a big hassle. But then again, when I was actually afraid to tell them if we could actually move it, so I had to try and keep pushing myself. I had to try and draw at least 5 pages a day. But then again, when I told them, they told me that no, it's okay. We can adjust. We can adjust. Maybe you can do it before Christmas. Yeah, before Christmas if it's fine. The 24th is fine. I was able to give it to them on the 23rd. You know, it's more of like a give and take situation. It's more of an understanding situation. I mean, that's the kind of partnership that I've always wanted, and I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna be doing this for a heck of a long time.
Okay, Takaru. Well, what advice could you offer to other illustrators? It can be a manga, it can be from other projects that you worked on, or just in general as an illustrator that you wish someone would have told you when you first started.
Just keep drawing. No, no, but seriously, just keep drawing. That's the one thing that I've always caught as an inspiration because when I started drawing when I was in grade school, um, I couldn't put down a pencil, a pen and paper. I couldn't literally. Everywhere I go, I have to always have a pen or pencil or paper. Even my even my family wanted me to always have a pen, a pencil, and paper. They wanted me to. They keep buying me sketch pads every week because in a span of 5 days, I would just fill up the sketch pad. That's how I kept drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing. It's a passion. If it's something that you really love to do, you have to put everything into it. And even if you put everything already into it, just keep going. There will be times that you will feel like you're kind of lazy or down. There's something called backing away for just a few minutes. You know, there was this one time that I was doing one of deadCON's pages that required so much detail because it's backgrounds. I really had such a bad time with it that I decided to just take like an hour break. And then when I came back, I just realized I already finished it. It's all about time management, but it's all about how much that you really want to put into the product. Because if you are able to, if you are really passionate about the project, as you keep saying that you are, then you would find any reason necessary to be able to finish it, regardless of whatever, um, regardless of whatever you may feel, whatever of whatever you. It's all about hard work, teamwork, you know. But in the end, it's a project that you really want to do. If you really want to do it, just go for it. Just draw, right? I mean, if you wanna draw a building, just draw. If you want to draw a person, just draw. If you want to draw your boyfriend or your girlfriend, your husband, your wife, just draw, right? I mean, that's the only sense there. You say that you want to draw a manga, but then if you don't draw it, then how are you drawing a manga? right?
Mhm.
So the only advice there is just if you want to draw something, use that as an inspiration and just draw. Simple as that.
Okay. Well, my last question for you, Takaru, is what is your idea of success? I ask that because as creators, if we're not getting regular paychecks from a full-time job or making consistent revenue from our art, we're kind of considered failures or we'll consider ourselves failures. Many of us will put our dreams and projects on the back burner or give them up altogether because this career can be highly intimidating and competitive. So, what is your idea of quote unquote success?
Success is not measured by monetary value. It never is. For me, the best way to describe success is the finishing of something. You know, um, putting all of your hard work, your effort into it, and then once it's finally over, and then you look back at everything, you're gonna be like, "Huh, we actually did all of this. Isn't that something?" Right? I mean, I'm I'm 100% aware that the indie manga scene is something that you just cannot, make a living of. I mean, let's face it, right? Even a freelance digital artist would be able to make a better living off than creating an indie manga. Um, but it doesn't really matter because indie manga is something that you love to do. It's something that I love to do, regardless of whatever outcome it may actually be. And to be able to actually complete the entire story is something that that would actually entice me. That's what I'm actually excited about, to look forward to just keep drawing even if we don't get too many fans, just keep drawing even if we don't get so much money, regardless, because by the end of the day it's a project that you've wanted to do, and just to see everything completed, it's already worth it. That's already a hit success for me.
Okay, well, Takaru, is there anything else that you wanted to touch on about DeadCon as a whole that I may have missed? I believe Nano and Kasuto already told me that I guess it's supposed to be like a bi-monthly release for the chapters. I believe that's what it
Yeah,
is when it gets finished at some point.
yeah, it's gonna be like a bi-monthly release for each of the chapters already. So I'm actually working on chapter 2 as of the moment. Um, and chapter 2 is actually really, really exciting. I really love it. So, you guys just have to wait for it. It's gonna come out sometime this April.
Okay. Well, all right. Again, I want to thank the collaborators from Ichigo Comics, Nana Hoshiko, Kazuto, and Takeru Arino here to promote their new manga, deadCON. I highly recommend our listeners to give deadCON a look, share, and subscribe if they can. All of the group's socials will be listed in this episode's details, alongside a link to read deadCON for those who are interested. Again, I'm Chaos Garner, and you have been listening to Solo Nerdbird Podcast. Thank you.